Founded in 2014, the Extraordinary Achievers' vision is to empower others to be the best version of themselves. The show is hosted by Chief Lady Waynett Peters, a multi-entrepreneur, empowerment speaker, confidence mentor, positive lifestyle coach, humanitarian ambassador, and a TV host. Lady Waynett is a holder of over 35 international awards for her humanitarian, philanthropic, and international empowerment contributions and holds 2 chieftaincy titles. Welcome to the Extraordinary Achievers Show.
Thank you for joining us to another episode of the Extraordinary Achievers Show, where we're covering community affairs and interests. Please do join us every Wednesday at 8 p.m. live on Facebook, YouTube, on our website, and several social media platforms. We welcome you and we thank you for sharing. To all our viewers from Facebook, from YouTube, from Twitter, from LinkedIn, our website, wherever you're watching us from, we appreciate you and we thank you for sharing with friends, family, and colleagues. We ask you to please subscribe to our social media links, kicking off with our website, where you will find our connections to all our other platforms.
For real-life stories broadcasted live on air, to please subscribe to our newsletter from our website. We will be honored if you could please like and follow our Facebook pages. Stay in touch and tune in by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you for following us on our Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, and TikTok. We are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. GMT. Please do share with others.
Professor Bostrom from the Future of Humanity Institute suggests artificial intelligence could overtake humanity in 2045. The year 2045 was a median prediction based on a survey of machine learning experts. Developments in artificial intelligence are leading to fundamental changes in the way we live. Algorithms can already detect Parkinson's disease and cancer and control both cars and aircrafts. Today, we are joined by Dr. Anthony Basil, Head of School of Computing and AI. We also have Dr. CHUGHTAI, FRC, the Chairman and Founder of Medical City Online UK. Doctors, thank you for joining us and welcome onto the Extraordinary Achievers Show.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you, doctors. Thank you. We would like to welcome some of our viewers that have joined us now by putting up some of their comments on the screen. We welcome you. Please remember to participate, to engage, to ask the doctors questions. They're here to educate us further. Sugar Ray says, greetings, everyone, and greetings to you too. Bangi says, good evening, and thank you for the compliment. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Mutoko, hey Doc, good evening to you too. Thank you. And Patrick T says hello and welcome back onto the show. Patricia Bailey, she says good evening to all, good evening to you, and thank you for the work you're doing in the community. Sugar Ray says 2045. Wow, not far, right? Patrick T says, looks like will be an interesting discussion today. Robots have been a fascination of mine, and the doctors are here to engage us even further. Jason Epplehad, Father's Rights, good evening to you, and thank you for joining us today and taking time out of such a busy schedule of yours. Thank you. We welcome your comments, we welcome your engagement, and if you haven't tagged anyone, it's time for you to tag them now. Share on WhatsApp, Facebook, any other social media groups. We welcome your share. And just to remind you that the total number of viewers is not live on the screen as we're watching because we're using several different media platforms and we're streaming from an outside streaming channel. However, still do tag other people. We welcome as many people that can learn with us today. We are going to go over to introduce you to Dr. SUHAIL. Dr. SUHAIL, welcome again back onto our screen.
Hi.
Hi, Doctor. Dr. SUHAIL is and medical examiner. He is a Microsoft certified specialist and consultant, a clinical leader at the Department of Health and SUHAIL has AI capacity of health. He's a chairman and founder of Medical UK and the CEO of Citrus Telemedicine and Citrus Health TV, Director of Digital Health Association of Pakistan, Physicians and Surgeons. Co-author of Telemedicine, a novel way to fight a pandemic that is available on Amazon worldwide. We will be putting on the doctor's contact details and links on our platform below. Dr. SUHAIL is the chairman Pan-Arab Telemedicine and Artificial Intelligence Conference of 2019, UAE, and the International Ambassador for Patientry Association, Atlanta, USA. We are honored to have you on the show today, Doctor. Thank you.
It's my pleasure indeed as well.
Thank you. Doctor, in the medical world, how do we benefit from artificial intelligence?
We have a lot of data to drive information and then assess and then finalize either a diagnosis and then institute therapy. Now, this data is growing and there is no limit to where it takes us. As the medical science evolves, the data size is becoming quite big, and it is now realistically not very manageable if you want to keep the quality of diagnosis, the accuracy of diagnosis. We need to have some assistance. And here comes AI, which is a wonderful technical support to medical science in the form that just imagine the working memory of humans is approximately 3.5 to 4, which means that while working on a mental procedure or operation or making a decision, the recall is 3 to 4 objects at one time. Now compare that to artificial intelligence, that while making a decision, you have an instant, fast recall of unlimited amount of data. It is only limited by the speed of your computer. So that support, if is available to you while making a clinical decision in the form of a chatbot, in the form of a questionnaire, which is given to the patient before the patient comes to the consultant. So the consultant comes and sees the patient at the point of a critical decision making, while that data, which the patient was going to give to the consultant in a systematic way, has already been taken before. So that gives two benefits. The quality of data is again collected in a way that it can be used backwards, plus there is no emotional overlay of the doctor to influence the decision making. That information reaches the doctor in a very structured way, and here is the doctor who can spend more time to empathize with the patient rather than start going from very basics. So I think it frees the doctor's mind to make bigger decisions rather than going into very basic elements, which is not a very efficient use of a senior doctor. So coming back to your question, Lady Waynett, it is the time saved by the doctor, the quality of diagnosis, and the speed of diagnosis, which is really a great blessing for a medical profession. In the age we're living in now, we have so much technology like robotic technology, virtual reality, telemedicine, and artificial intelligence really helps all of them.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, in your book, Telemedicine, A Novel Way to Fight a Pandemic, did AI play a big part in that?
AI was a topic which was really quite hot in all the lectures. In most of the sessions, AI was touched. People are very interested because they see that as a system which can help doctors perform more efficiently. So take example of cervical cancer diagnosis. In China, they had a large set of data, and there was the number of pathologists required to analyze that data never felt sufficient. So the AI-based screening of cervical smear slides really helped a great deal, because it differentiated the ones which looked like cancer and the ones which did not look like cancer and the ones which were in between. So the pathologists prioritized which slide to look at first, which to second, and which can wait. So that helped a cancer screening program, and it reduced the disease burden. So this was very, very, very important topic in the Pan-Arab Telemedicine Conference, and I felt the interest was across the globe. We had 25 speakers in that conference, and 2 days conference in UAE, and whether they're from America or whether they're from a less developed country, they all were keen about it, mainly because they felt that the patient can be led to a doctor in a more systematic way, and the doctor gets involved at the critical decision-making point. And I feel this is a great benefit.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, we'll be back with you shortly. We're just going to acknowledge some more of our viewers from home. And Pastor Baseda, Brother Baseda, thank you so very much for joining us. We are doing some amazing work with the disabled individuals in the UK and abroad, and we appreciate you for being on the show. Louisa Arti from Louisa Creation says hello and good evening all, and good evening to you too. Jason Eplehard said good evening again, and we are glad we have you on the show. We are going to go over and introduce you to our next guest today on artificial intelligence, and we're going to introduce you to Dr. Anthony Skip Basil. Dr.
Good evening,
Anthony,
everyone.
Thank you. Doctor, we know how busy today is for you, so we are double honored to have you on the show today. Dr. Anthony Skip Basil has over 2 decades of computing and artificial intelligence experience in the UK higher education and work-based learning. He has been a senior manager for teaching and learning research and development and doctoral supervision. As an external examiner for a variety of UK and international institutions such as Oxford University, he has collaborated with leaders in the field of computing. Dr. Basil's commercial expertise has grown from his role as an Adobe International Education leader, where he has provided consultancy for organizations such as the V&A and Natural History Museum in London, and many more. With over 55 international publications since 1996, Dr. Basil sees himself as a lifelong learner. Currently, he is the head of the School of Computing and AI at Regent Higher Education College London, where he leads over 15 faculty and staff to support more than 200 students. For example, a research project bid has been submitted to the British Education Research Association, BERA, to develop inclusive and engaging webinar designs using an innovative fishbowl discussion model. And today we welcome you to this show.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here this evening.
Thank you. Dr. Anthony, please tell us, in your view, in your experience, in all the books that you've written, how and what angle does your association with artificial intelligence come in?
Well, as you can see from my profile, I'm not as specialized as my colleague in the medical field. My area of expertise is more in higher education and the use of artificial intelligence for learning and development in a corporate setting, or in a higher education setting, being able to support the students in terms of being able to promote and enhance their learning experience. But there are some overlaps. For example, we were talking earlier about chatterbots and being able to tap into the database knowledge using artificial intelligence algorithms. And this is something that we're looking at in the education context as well, where you might have in a static web page frequently asked questions type of resource. So if you're a student or a lecturer and you're trying to find some information, typically you might go to a website when you're doing your research and look for the FAQ section. Now, if it's static, then that means that it doesn't change and that information is permanent on the page. The problem with that is that in computing, it changes very, very quickly. And so what we need is a solution which is going to be more dynamic. And this is where the artificial intelligence comes in, to be able to take these various questions that come in and to be able to associate them with the appropriate answers. Then the next question is, how is the media going to be able to be used in order to be able to accommodate that learner? Well, we can use text media, but we've also got voice to text and text to voice technology as well. So now this dynamic, frequently asked questions, this help system is evolving into becoming a virtual assistant. And the potential is for that progression to be able to have that system be able to support, be a kind of assistant teacher, if you want to think of it that way. So in the education realm, you can see artificial intelligence has a lot to offer the learners.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, we have Siri at home now. We have Alexa. We have all these gadgets. The other day I was on Amazon, and Amazon was saying wanted to learn my voice, and then it can then store my voice under my profile so that it can recognize when I am asking Alexa to play something on the TV. The dangers we all think about at home is that these gadgets are listening to us when we don't want them to be listening to us. Is our phones listening to us? Our TVs listening to us?
So your question is about data security then. Mm-hmm. This is certainly an issue that I think is very much relevant when we're looking at issues around data protection and GDPR. It's very important that we have an awareness of government and national and international regulations in respect to that. And when we're working with artificial intelligence and intelligent systems, when I'm working with my students, for example, and supervising doctoral students, one of the foundations that we try to get across to them as they're doing the research is that you need to be grounded in whatever regulations and policies and procedures, for that organization or for that country that you're researching. And then from that builds the foundation so that you're able to make the decisions in terms of data protection and security. So it is a very important issue. But what we want to be careful about is to work, of course, within the legal restrictions, but we don't want the technology to drive the learning and the instructional design. As Mary Thorpe from the Open University is quoted to say, we don't want the technology to drive the pedagogy. We want to be able to make sure that all of the stakeholders have that opportunity to use the technology. So if you're using Alexa, you're being able to use it to meet your goals and not be restricted by that.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, we will be back with you shortly. If you've just joined us on the Extraordinary Achievers Show, We are today looking at artificial intelligence, and we are joined today by Anthony Skip Basil, and head of School of Computing and AI, and we also joined by Dr. SUHAIL, FRC, the chairman and founder of the Medical City Online UK. Dr. SUHAIL, we have a question for you in the medical field with AI. Doctor, when should we be concerned about artificial intelligence when it comes to medicine and health? Is there any time that we should be concerned?
Well, I think artificial intelligence is bound to be in healthcare in various clinical fields. So I wouldn't say concern, but I would say that we should be not shying away from the use of artificial intelligence when it looks from the patient's perspective. I'll give you one scenario. I presented this at one of the AI conferences last month, this scenario, that we are developing a software where a patient has the option to ask a chatbot, an app on the mobile phone, that this is my symptom right now, and the chatbot will ask questions, and that is based on artificial intelligence. So that will lead to a point where the guidance is, do you want to see, the chatbot will suggest the patient that you should see a doctor right now, although it's not very urgent, but I can get you a doctor on the screen. So then the chatbot will invite the doctor on telemedicine platform embedded in that system, and the doctor will be available online. So the decision where a patient is not sure whether to go to hospital or can have a doctor online, that critical decision making sometimes, if it's not done properly, then the patient will go to hospital and spend 4 hours there, and at the end they will say, well, all you need to do is take paracetamol. Now that 4 hours journey and the anxiety could have been dealt through an artificial intelligence led system in the form of an app. And on the other side of it, sometimes people say, well, it's okay, it's only headache, and they stay at home. So that pattern of characteristic pathognomonic, in medical science, we have a set of data like symptoms, and on the basis of that, we relate those symptoms to certain other features and then reach a diagnosis. And that is what an artificial intelligence-based chatbot will do. So the patients are guided on the critical decision. Do you need to go to hospital right now, or you can see a doctor at this time where we can get you telemedicine? So I think it's not a concern. Basically, the chatbots are artificial intelligence chatbots are here to help the patient, and the patient should only be concerned when they're asking passwords. That's all.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, we have a question for you from one of our viewers. Sugar Ray says, does AI consider each patient's individual circumstances, or is it just a binary yes or no, when in some instances there may be gray areas?
It's a very good question. Artificial intelligence and another variant of that, machine learning or deep learning, is dependent on the data we give it to it. We give unstructured data to machine learning systems, the computers, which work on certain algorithms, where point 1 is connected to point 2 and point 2 is connected to point 3. And these things are read by algorithms. Now, the more data passes are provided to an artificial intelligence system, the more perfect it becomes. I'll give you an example. In the first pass, the data or the artificial intelligence system will recognize it's a nucleus and that's a cell membrane. So it's decided it's a cell, human cell. The second pass, the third pass will decide this cell does not look normal. One of the parts of the cell is not normal. Now, what could be that? Could be inflammation, could be cancer. Multiple passes of that data will decide and improve the learning system of that particular artificial intelligence machine. Same goes for the question now. So the data sets which are presented in the trials, they have been perfected to a point where the errors are eliminated. So when these things come in the market, those errors most likely would have been eliminated and the patient need not worry. But in the research phase, when the patients are given a disclaimer that this is a beta version of a chatbot, then these errors, what as the question says, could happen, and you may be led to a wrong direction. But there would be a clear disclaimer that if you're not sure, press the button and you will see a doctor online. That is a common pattern. But the disclaimer says very clearly that this is a beta version of the software.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, what has been the most exciting moment for you in the medical world with AI?
Oh, now that question can take you whole 2 hours for me to answer, but I'll try and limit myself. I tell you what, I can give you an example. Let me take you to one patient who had, I saw on telemedicine, this lady was having a cat in her lap, and she was having a teleconsultation with me. And then I put up a question before my consultation. And she said, I discovered answers. I discovered how to answer to a doctor by going through this questionnaire. And I'm more organized. So I know that what I need to know about my disease, because now everything is presented to me in a very systematic written format. This question leads to that. And if patients are going through this practice time and again, they learn to describe their illness very well. And if they describe it very well, the doctor can diagnose it better. So I think it's a process which organizes and kind of makes people, puts information in the right slot. So the experience from the patient perspective was very positive, and I felt very good that patients are giving a very positive nod that this system is helping them to describe their symptoms better. So yes, that moment, but there are many moments like that.
Doctor, thank you for that. We are going to address some of the other hellos and the salutations we have from our guests. We thank you for joining us on the Extraordinary Achievers Show, and we welcome you and we encourage you to share on other Facebook groups with family, friends, associates, as the doctors join us this evening to share their experience with AI and also address some of our concerns. As always on the Extraordinary Achievers, I often find that after the show, everyone sends me text messages and asks me questions. Please, today, I have no idea of anything to do with artificial intelligence. I'm learning just as you're learning. So please ask all the questions to doctors as we have them on air today. Simon C. Brown says, good evening, my dear friend, and good evening to you too, my darling friend, and thank you for joining us. Adepeji says, good evening, everyone, and good evening to you. We thank you for joining us once again. Caroline, hey, Han, nice for you to join us. Thank you so much. From Think Tank, she says, as a researcher and writer, published author, I've done extensive research on the topic as my upcoming book covers this wide area. I found that there is a lot of loopholes still unbalanced with data consent and data sharing. Also, a lot of hidden information within apps that the end user is not aware of. AI, in my opinion, the general public need to be given more information on what they are consenting to. And I think Dr. SUHAIL did cover that it is also up to the user to be able to look through the website and the GDR as well concerned. And Tani says, good evening and good evening to you too. Thank you. We will allow Dr. SUHAIL to comment on Caroline's comment later on in the show. Sugar Ray says, can the AI think and adapt for itself more than the architect program is to it? We would like to pose this question to Dr. Anthony Skip Basil. Dr. Anthony, could you please answer this question for us? Can the AI think and adapt for itself more than the architect programs it too?
Well, that's an interesting question because I look at the word think, and it makes me want to